asked you a question on perhaps inheritance, family inheritance. When you are dealing with family tussle, it might be difficult on your end, but how do you deal with names that were not registered as, from the family, but they insist that they should inherit part of the land? How do you deal with such?
Inheritance matters are actually dealt with High Court, the division that deals with issues of succession and inheritance. The Environment and Land Court deals with now possession, the title. So that's when they come to us, when now somebody says this person died and the estate was supposed to be, somebody has taken the land of our father. And so then we come in. Because under the Succession Act, the law stipulates under, I think, Section 45 that you cannot meddle in the estate of a deceased person until the estate has now been given to the people who are supposed to be given. And so if that happens, when families come to court, a lot of times it's about children thinking that one of the siblings is denying them. And it happens, or sometimes it's the brothers against sisters, sisters against brothers, or even the mother or the father against the children, because one person is deceased. So what we actually look at is whether the estate was distributed as it was supposed to, and the people who are supposed to be only having the title to the estate are the ones. Where the person died intestate, it hasn't been divided to the survivors, then we actually look at who is possessing it, because ours is about possession and occupation. So then we look at that and ensure that really if the land the estate hasn't been divided, we send them back to the succession court to do the succession, but we ensure that the title is reserved in the name of the person who is still deceased. Okay. Yes.
Let me just remind our viewers who are just tuned in now, we're having a conversation with Judge Jacqueline Mugeni of Environment and Land Court here in Milimani, Nairobi. We are discussing matters land and also environment. She's told us that next week on Thursday, there's going to be a tree planting from the Lands Court, of course, just to create the awareness of environment and so on and so forth. So that's why we're having that discussion. And also, perhaps, Wakili, when we are also dealing about fake titles, and also earlier I said, as a judge, when I come to your court, you can just look at me and say, you know what, you're lying. But you have to compose yourself, because at the end of the day, you're going to write your judgment. This is it. Coming from you, perhaps you can tell us how your judgments are when you're dealing with these titles. Because it's right now, as we speak, it's a lot in the country.
Yeah. As I said, the responsibility of ensuring that the records of titles that are correct is actually the work of the Ministry of Environment, the Office of the Chief Land Registrar. And so they are the ones who issue title all over the country. Allotment letters will be issued by, for example, the county governments. They were called what? The municipalities. And they're supposed to issue genuine allotment letters. But of course, a lot of times we find documents in court that are brought that are really not genuine. And the issue is to examine the procedures, because the procedures are clear. They are very clear. As I said, it's like black and white. And a lot of the fake titles that come before us will not be supported by the procedure. You will find that one procedure was skipped. If somebody says that I bought this land from X, and this you will find that most of the times maybe even the sale agreement is not there, or if it's there, it doesn't meet the standards that are laid down in procedures in law. And so the gaps begin to show. It's difficult to sustain such a big lie, because that's a big lie. Yes. It's difficult to sustain it through processes, because you test everything. It's like a marriage. You're either married or not married. And you have especially a marriage where you went to a church and you have a marriage certificate. So, you can't have two marriage certificates. There can only be one marriage certificate under the Christian, the monogamous marriage. Yes. So you can't have married me monogamous, then married the other person monogamous. That means that one of the marriages is fake. So it means, therefore, that if I was the first in time, my marriage is the genuine monogamous one. Then yours is the, what is it called? The side, whatever they are called. And so, and therefore you have basically no rights within this monogamous marriage. So in the same manner, in the same way, there's only one genuine title to a land. There can't be two genuine titles. And the process that leads to these genuine titles is clearly stipulated, and that's what we look at as we write our judgments. And there are people who come to court, they actually know they are lying themselves, but they're trying their luck. Unajua mtu anajaribu.
Really?
When you're going to the market to sell your potatoes, you know your potatoes are rotten, but you still say, come and buy my potatoes. I think that is, they come to court to try us also. Yes.
But at the end of the day, you are smarter.
Yes, yes.
Now, it's almost a year since, let's go back to the division, since its division. Perhaps you can talk to us, what are the achievements out of it? Yeah.
I would not want to talk about the achievement because we've just started. Like the environment and planning division, that one deals with not just environment, but also the issues of planning. This, we have to look at a lot of the issues that come before us on planning is approvals that are not supposed to be there, buildings that are skyscrapers that are going up in areas that are supposed to be single dwelling, children's playgrounds that have been taken away, and people now putting up buildings, a road that is passing, a place that is supposed to have a road that has been taken away because the planners, the plan that is there is not being followed. A road, a Mombasa Road that was supposed to pass and somebody's claiming Mombasa Road, there's some crazy things like that. So I wouldn't say that we've achieved much because we've just started. Yes. One of the greatest, maybe the greatest achievement I would say is that we've formed the working groups. The Environment and Planning Division will be inaugurating its working group in June. The Land and Planning Division will be, the Land Division already inaugurated its working group this year in, we did it this year in, I think, February. And so the working group is already there. They've held their first meeting, and there's a lot of enthusiasm from the stakeholders to say, indeed, we have been plagued with a lot of cases that are pending or a lot of land fiascos. You see somebody comes and you find somebody fencing your land. And you're like, you in fact almost walk back to ask, is this my gate? Or is this, I thought this is my home. Yeah, so the working group is really beginning to work a lot to solve some of these issues in the communities. So we can't talk about the achievements, we can talk about work in progress.
Work in progress,
Yes.
you're heading in the right direction.
Yes.
These divisions, are they, you said that there are 40 courts?
Yes, environment and land courts
in the country.
In the country.
Is the divisions in all the courts, or is it the specifics?
Yes, so the division with Nairobi is always the starting point.
Yes.
And so the judges in the other courts will begin to also put up the environment and land divisions. It's actually an administrative process to ensure that when somebody comes to file their matter on environment, you don't file in the land division because it will queue. You file in the environment division because it will move very fast, because it is a fast tracked. And so very soon we'll now have them in every court, because we want, the most important thing is that we want to ensure that all climate issues, environment issues, planning issues are completely fast tracked. Because you can imagine if there's a building going up next to you and it's not supposed to, and I queue you for 10 years, the building will be finished, there'll be tenants. Even if I say bring it down, yes, it can be brought down, but the complexities. Yeah. But if we don't queue it, it is easier for us to say stop, or easier for us to say you've reached third floor, bomoa, until first floor, if that is the direction it will go. So that's why we are saying don't queue. Come and file them. So all the courts will be doing that, will follow suit. Yes. Now,
perhaps they can ask you, because we've just talked about a story building. I'm aware of, I think, 3-story building almost close to my area, and since its completion, it has never been occupied. Despite this person saying, I have the title for this particular land and all that, but for almost 3 years, it has never been occupied. What forms such basis?
Maybe, I wouldn't know, because every case, as we say, cases are different. And I'm not so sure whether that matter is in court, as you say, because matters that are in court I cannot discuss. Yeah. But generally, if somebody has completed a building like this, and nobody's going in, there could be many issues. Yeah. Maybe then the NEMA, because NEMA also is one of the bodies that actually have been given the responsibility to manage environmental issues. or maybe the Physical Planning Committee of the county has said it's not good for occupation, or maybe there's a court order that has stopped the occupation for one reason or the other. So I wouldn't be able to speak authoritatively about it. I can only guess some of the issues that come to court and say there are myriad of issues that would cause that.
Yes.
Or maybe there's actually a tussle about the ownership. So this person is saying I have the title, this one is saying I don't have the title. And so one of the things that happens, the parties will come to court and seek an injunction. And where we think there's ground for it, if somebody says I own it and they can show they own the title, but somebody else has built on the land, I will injunct so that we can hear the matter and complete it. Okay. So maybe there's a suit in court going on, there's an injunction. When we complete and the court gives its verdict, maybe then the building could be occupied, or it will not be occupied because then the title will be saying it shifts to this person. And this other person will go to the Court of Appeal. So that might continue for very long. Yes.
Oh my God, that's why we said earlier, land issues in the country is becoming a bit complicated.
It's emotive.
Because of matters, titles and right ownerships. Because you might find, like, when we talk about third party or second party ownership, that's also an issue. Yeah,
because some people will come and say, I'm a third party because, like a bank, you see, like now I've injuncted, this person took a loan, has completed, the tenants can't move in, they can't pay their loan, the court, and then maybe the bank didn't know that there was a matter, then they come and say, I want to be enjoined. So you see, maybe we had even completed, so I have to set aside everything I did. We start afresh because when I check, I see genuinely this person has an interest in this land, and if we don't give them a chance, we are closing them away from the seat of justice. It's only fair that we hear as everybody, whoever is interested, until we've had everybody. But also there's a maxim in law that says litigation must come to an end. We can't hear you forever. We must make a decision, whether good or bad, and we move on. So if there's a land matter and you're interested in an environmental matter, please don't wait until it's completed. Then you start saying, oh, I was not consulted. And that is why you hear, in our constitution, the issue of public participation is so critical, and the involvement of the individual. The individual is at the center of everything we do in this country, because that's what the constitution said. So don't start to do something without doing an AIE, without doing public participation. Then you come and say the easy court in Imbaya, they are stopping us, development. Do the right thing. The constitution is so clear. Just follow the constitution. Your life will be so easy. Yeah. But
when we're still talking about second or third party, say I'm the initial owner.
Yes.
Now we have a second party. But there's someone from my end who's also supposed to sign. Yes. But this second party doesn't know. Can they all still claim that land?
Yes. Anybody can claim land. Anybody can claim your house today. Anybody. What is important is to see what are the documents you have that claiming, because we also have busy bodies coming to court. So the documents we look at the very initial stage, have you given any evidence to show that you have an interest in that land? If you are a second party, who are you? Did you give a loan? Are you a parent? Are you a sister? So we look, what is the interest that you're claiming? There are some people who have no interest, and that initial stage, if it's an application, I will rule that you have no interest, or you can be called as a witness, and I will move the suit. I will move the matter to substantive hearing so that we can hear the suit and finalize. And even sometimes so that we can, nowadays what we ask parties, could we preserve the status quo? And the status quo means whoever is on the suit property, remain there as you are. Don't sell, don't transfer, don't construct, don't do anything. Just leave it as it is. And let's move to the hearing so that we don't waste time with applications. You know, these applications upon applications, we just waste time. So let's move to the hearing of the main suit, but we'll preserve status quo. It's very important. So when we go to we hear, eventually the truth will come out. Yeah.
Also, perhaps we could talk about building on government land. That is also, perhaps you've seen a land that has been idle for 10 years. Then you assume, you know what? This is God's sign.
Yes.
This is the 10th year. God has showed me this is your land. Yes. And then after you build your mansion, a very beautiful mansion,
yes,
5 years down the line, it's down.
Yes.
Of course.
Government land belongs to all Kenyans. So you cannot take government land. In the same manner, in the same way, there's something called adverse possession, where you allow a relative to stay on your land, or they move on to your land with your permission. You never ask them for anything. And after 12 years, on the 12th year, they move to court. You will for sure lose that land. So you should be very careful.
Really?
Why? Because if you allow them to go in, you've never asked for any rent for them to pay or anything like that. You've never told them move out.
They own it.
They've done everything on it and you really don't mind. You've never told them. They've gone there adversely. They went onto the land adversely and you didn't tell them anything. After 12 years, the likelihood of you losing the land is high. That is private land. For government land, you can never adversely own government land because it is public land. It belongs to the 50 million Kenyans. So you can't adversely go there and say, hey, 10 years, 12 years, I've been here, this is my land. No, because government land cannot be adversely owned. Also, government land cannot be given to anybody unless there is a procedure for you to own government land. It must be, it's an alienated land, it must be alienated, it must be gazetted, you must make an application, it must, then we advertise and say these people want this particular land, anybody who is objecting, the government has to do that, then eventually they allot you that particular land. The government can't just sit privately and start dishing out land. No. There's a very clear procedure. So even if they gave you that land and they didn't follow the procedure, that land will still come down. Even if it's after 100 years or whatever number of years, it will still come down because law is law and it must be followed.
Because I think that is what has been happening since last year.
Yes.
People say, me, I've been living here for 10 years, but they don't even have the title.
You have no title.
Land.
Or you say government gave you, how? What is the procedure? Because you can't own government land without following the right procedure. And the right procedure is that it must be alienated, it must be gazetted, there must be an advertisement, there has to be a public hearing, and then we say, now this land is going to be given to these people, because so there's no objection. If there's an objection, it must be resolved. Yes, and then it's allotted.
Let me take you back to private land. You say that it's so easy for me to lose my land to my relative.
No, it's not easy because 12 years is a long time.
No, it's not.
12 years, even you, where are you? 12 years.
What? So they can own it?
Yes, they can own it under adverse possession.
The money that you spent buying that land?
Yeah.
I feel like some people should not hear this because now they start claiming.
No, but everybody should know. You know, there's a legal equity magazine that says, ignorance of the law is no defense. So actually what is plaguing a lot of Kenyans is ignorance. Even when you are sold fake land, even judges have been sold fake land. So it is ignorance. And I think it's important that Kenyans we should do a lot of educating people on media, on what is it called? Vernacular media, on land. Because really, a lot of cases that come before us, it's ignorance. You're like, where was you? I mean, I almost want to ask that, but yeah.
And before we wrap up, do you think there's a time that will come in Kenya that this land tussle will come to an end? Are we heading there? Amadu?
No. Remember the first murder was on land in the Bible. Cain killed his brother, because of the soil. So if it happened in the Bible, I'm a Christian, so it happened in the Bible, a practicing Christian. It happened in the Bible, so since it's there and it's recorded, I think we are in this thing for the long haul.
We have to embrace ourselves. All right, perhaps maybe you can give us your parting shot as we close.
Yeah, my parting shot is to ask Kenyans to turn up in large numbers to support the Environment and Land Court on Thursday, 24th, when we'll be growing trees all over the country, where our courts are situated in all the 40 counties. For Nairobi County, we shall be at Korogosho at the Nairobi River, together with the River Basin, the River Commission, and then we shall move for an open day to answer your questions, to interact with the public at Daniel Komboni Primary School. So we ask you to turn up in large numbers. Tutajaribu hata kuongea Kiswahili na lugha zingine zote za Kenya. Karibuni. Asante.
All right, thank you, Jacqueline. That is Judge Jacqueline Mugeni. They are saying that turn up all those issues that you have on land, because I know there are so many. They're going to be there next week on Thursday. They're going to answer those questions for you in regards to any matters on environment or land issues. She's also going to be one of them who are going to be present next week on Thursday. Please show up for that particular event. Well, and that is why we wrap up KTN News Center this Friday. Thank you so much for your company. My name is Grace Nganga, but I'll see you later on at 1 p.m. for KTN News Desk. Please stay with KTN.